Rather lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Now, Arsenal are set to spend another staggering 215 million euros, which will mean that we'll have a big summer in 2 consecutive years. 2 big summers actually in 2 consecutive years. Now, does that mean that Arsenal have started and have decided to go back to ways of behaving like a big club? We're going to be talking about that. And of course, Mikel Arteta has told Stan Kroenke and Edu that he needs over 7 signings this summer. In this video, I discuss my 5 reasons, why Arsenal should be spending more than 215 million euros this summer, and why it is very, very crucial, not only for Arsenal, but of course, this is Cossy's Arsenal podcast, so we discuss Arsenal, but I discuss why any club at the moment needs to be spending highly if they really want to compete. And of course, with Arsenal, it is a special case because when you look at the gap between us and Manchester City and Liverpool, and also you look at the gap between when we last won a trophy and a Premier League trophy and when we last thought we could win it, it is very, very long. So join me on this journey. Join the conversation in the comments box below. Do you think 215 million euros that has been confirmed by that is by the standard, the Arsenal will be spending that, and also the fact that Mikel Arteta has told the board he wants 7 signings? Is that enough evidence for you that we are now behaving like a big club? And where does that leave us? Does that put us into the conversation of major clubs this campaign? My name is Cossy. Hit the like button for me. Let's get this video to 300 likes. Make sure you do that, and of course, do subscribe. We are at 43.5 thousand subscribers. I mean, I didn't know that. So 43.5. We need to get to 44. We need to get to 50 ASAP. Make sure you also do subscribe to the podcast. But of course, the like button is majorly important. Now, let's get into it. The Standard have reported that Arsenal will be spending 215 million euros. Arsenal have 215 million euros, considering the fact that Stan Kroenke and Arteta had some bad blood and some frustration, some row between them. It looks like Kroenke has finally decided not to go back on his word, but to push ahead and be true to his word and give Mikel Arteta the backing he deserves as a manager. And we have seen it this week that after a couple of reports coming out that Mikel Arteta is not happy with the Kroenkes and how they've decided to play their game, they wanted to be smart on him. They wanted to throw him under the bus. Arsenal have progressed very, very quickly with a couple of signings now incoming. Fabio Vieira incoming through the door. You also have Gabriel Jesus, who have been in intensive talks with, and that deal is also done. We're also talking about Yuri Tillemans, who we have a massive agreement with to join the club. We're also talking about Rafinha. We're also talking about a couple of other players, including a left back and also a centre back. So when you think about all that, it creates the impression for me that Arsenal have just decided, we have just realized it's not going to work for us to be primitive. It's not going to work for us to be to sit back and wait for others as they spend. We need to do something. We need to start, creating our own brand. And in modern football, if you do not have a brand of football, if you do not have a brand, if you've not built a brand, especially when you have those players in that quality, and look at Liverpool and look at Manchester City. That's what I'm trying to talk about. If you don't have it, it is absolutely going to be very, very hard. I totally agree with Mikel Arteta. For me, 7 signings this summer is even not enough for a manager who has decided, I'm going to go with this Arsenal project. I'm going to give it time, and I'm going to, drive out the deadwood and bring in players that I feel will work for the system. 7 signings for me, for Mikel Arteta, is not enough. He needs a backup right back. He needs a backup left back. He needs a backup goalkeeper. Those are already 3 players covered, in the defensive areas. You need 2 more midfielders in there, and you also need 2 more strikers in there. And then you start thinking about players that can cover for those players that you're actually bringing in. So if it is possible, Arsenal should be even bringing in around 10 signings, 12 signings, because that is what you need. And we're going to discuss that in my 5 reasons why Arsenal and any other club should be spending highly. But of course, this episode is the Arsenal episode. Number one, the lack of squad depth last season cost us the top four. It is hurting. It really hurt, and it hurt us that after failing to get Dejan Kulusevski through the door, Spurs did, and Kulusevski and his goal involvements literally took them to the UEFA Champions League. The reason, we can find all reasons in the world why Arsenal did not make it to the top four, but the main reason was lack of squad depth. It was narrow. It was really, really narrow. And the fact that it was narrow, it also lacked quality. It could be narrow, but then it has the quality. But it was narrow, and the quality was also not there. Look at Mohamed Elneny. Elneny cannot come in to replace Partey. They're way different. Yes, their passing accuracy is in the same level, around 86%. But if you look at what Partey gives us and what Elneny gives us, Elneny gives you that, Partey gives you that player that sits deep, protects the defense, and then does a lot of donkey work. But then he also gives you a very, very good progressor of the ball, a player who can turn, stop and turn in that midfield, and then progress the ball. That is what you lack when you do not have Thomas Partey in the Arsenal side. And even when you think about Partey and you let him alone, you'll think about Kieran Tierney, who I think his absence in the team affected our creativity lots of the time. You also think about Takehiro Tomiyasu, who, when he went away, the defensive solidity of that team was greatly affected. So the first reason is why Arsenal need to splash money. Just make this squad big. Just have players at your disposal. Good players. I'm not just talking about players like Cedric around, players like Mustafi and Kolasinac around. We are past that level, right? So you need to have players around. You look at Chelsea, you look at Liverpool and Manchester City, United as well. They have the squad depth. You must be able to have almost two players per position. Given the fact that UEFA and FIFA these days do not care about players and the minutes they're playing, they care about how much money is FIFA and UEFA making. That is what they care about. That's why you're going to have more games in the Premier League. Sorry, more games in the UEFA Champions League. They're proposing a World Cup every 2 years, and you're having the AFCON being played in 2020 in 2022, and then also it's going to be played in 2023. Of course, we know the COVID issues, and they want to go back to they want to reset, but primarily you also know that the competition featuring featuring two times in the last 2 years makes a lot of money for FIFA and AFCON. Of course, the Euros are also upcoming. So when you think about all that, you need squad depth. You really, really need squad depth, because eventually your players are going to get tired. Eventually your players are going to pick up these injuries, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. It's FIFA at the end of the day. It's UEFA. They're the governing body. So lack of squad depth cost us last season, cost us last campaign, and it might have just widened that gap between Arsenal and Spurs and Chelsea. Because if you think about us not being in the UEFA Champions League, it also affects the quality of players we can attract, honestly. So I don't think the likes of Lautaro Martinez would be easy to bring in, because we are in the Europa League. So that is my first reason. Arsenal need to spend huge amounts of money, bring in a chunk of players, because you need the squad depth, you need players around. But also number two, this year is gonna be a crazy year, a very crazy year. We are talking about the World Cup. We are talking about we are talking about league fixtures that are going to be as compact as never before. And that is my second reason as to why you need to spend money as early as possible. We talked about the fixture list, and how many games we have per month. In the opening month of the season, Arsenal will play 5 games. The next month we'll play 2, I think 3 actually, and then in October we will play 6 games. Bear in mind that a team is going to play 6 games in the Premier League. That literally means you're going to be playing 1.5 games per week. But also think about this. There is UEFA competitions. Arsenal back in the Europa League, of course. Now, that means that you're going to have your players, which also goes back to the idea of what I talked about, the squad depth. You're going to have your players play in Europe, play in the Premier League, and then they're going to go for the World Cup. It's a lot of football. It's a lot of football to cover. That's why I think Arsenal, in every department, you need 2 players. Actually, if I were Arsenal at the moment, I'll be looking to sign players that are not guaranteed starters for their, for their countries. I mean, there is a lot of time to go. It's around 6 months or 5 months. So anything could change. The likes of Fabio Vieira could penetrate into that Portuguese side. The likes of Gabriel Jesus, of course, he's already playing, but I think if he comes to Arsenal, has a very, very good start to life. He's gonna be playing all minutes for Brazil. So the World Cup makes things a little bit difficult. So it guarantees you injuries all the time, and then it guarantees you burnout. Your players are gonna be burnt out. A player like Thomas Partey, Ghana, that is where, he's their pivot, he's their heart, he's their star man. It rotates around him. It depends on him. So the World Cup is one reason why Arsenal need to splash lots of money, because we know it, right? It is not coming as a surprise. We know it. Number 3, the City-Liverpool gap. That is massive. That is huge. And many people have been telling me, look, Cossy, we are going to win the league. The answer is no. We are not winning the league. Not now. And the reason is the City-Liverpool gap is not, we are not anywhere close to bridging that gap. We are not anywhere close to, finding ourselves in the conversation. And look, we are not in the conversation. We are not in that debate of who wins the league. And what they've done this summer truly and clearly shows you what they are ready to be, and what others are. They've shown you that they can do super signings quickly, swiftly, and smartly. I say that. So when you think about Arsenal and how slow, first and foremost, we are doing our business. Yes, the last 48, 72 hours have been absolutely joyous for Arsenal fans. But Liverpool have signed Darwin Núñez. They have signed Calvin Ramsey today. It is confirmed. There's 2 done deals. It's done. Literally, Liverpool are out of the market. They've done it. Manchester City are looking at Calvin Phillips. They're in talks to sign him. They're in talks to sign Marco Cucurella, and they're also in talks. And they have announced Erling Haaland. So that means if you want to get into that conversation, you need to build the right foundation. We are not, I don't mean you bring in, you spend 215 million and then you're into the conversation. You're not yet there, but it gives us the hope that one day as City and Liverpool probably dwindle or probably reach their maximum, reach their breaking point, Arsenal will be one of those clubs that are also coming up, whose clubs will be rising rather than being at that stagnation point. I mean, for so many years, our cover has been a plateau, and you've seen it, that it has been very boring. It's been so monotonous that Arsenal will bring in one or two players who are not even key to the squad, and then will finish 8th, 6th, 5th, 4th. So to get back into that conversation with City and Liverpool, you need to spend, and you need to spend huge amounts of money, because each of them this summer will be spending more than 150 million euros. So if you're looking at a club who definitely have everything and they're still spending 150 million euros, then you have to be spending more than them, because the time they used to build their squads, you are literally slipping. Number 4, the top 4 debate. Look, last season, it was absolutely amazing. We had that top four debate, and everybody was excited about who's gonna win it. Is it United? Is it West Ham? Is it Chelsea? Is it Arsenal? But now it looks like the top four debate is going to be an essential debate for the rest of the Premier League and its time. It's going to be very, very key. And this is the reason. I think you have so many powerhouses, young powerhouses that are that are cropping up, that are growing up. You have Aston Villa, you have Newcastle, you have West Ham, you have Wolves, and you have Brighton. Now, all of these ones might not actually directly finish in the top four, but they will directly impact on who finishes in the top four. You need to be absolutely quality more than them. I'll give you an example. Arsenal this season did not beat Brighton. We shared a nil draw at the Sea, and when they came at the Emirates Stadium, we lost that game. So Brighton, you would think Arsenal should be clear of Brighton. We should be able to beat Brighton at any time. But then think about Crystal Palace. Arsenal did not beat Crystal Palace last campaign. 3-0 is what we suffered at the Selhurst Park, and 2-2 at the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal finding that game, equaling that game, getting the equalizer, I think, in the 90th minute. Think about clubs like Wolves that we beat home and away, but if you ask yourself, do Arsenal replicate that result? The truth is no. Right? So with all that, the top four debate now becomes a little bit difficult, actually very, very complex now, because you have the likes of Newcastle who have the money, they're bringing in the likes of Steven Botman, Hugo Ekitike, and the others. They're building quality powerhouses. Aston Villa should not be forgotten. So for Arsenal to even consider themselves as priorities in that debate, you need to spend. And finally, we need silverware. We need to be back at that level. If you look at when we last won Premier League, that's 2004. That is a long way back. So for us not to win silverware, get the Europa League, we've never... we won the Europa League before it was named the Europa League. We last won it when it was called the Cup Winners' Cup. I mean, who cares? Win the fucking Europa League. Win the fucking UEFA Champions League. And to do that, you need to spend. Yes, Mikel is here and he's building a project, and the Crankies are telling us that it's a massive project, but it's not a project that stands without money. It's a project that stands because you're gonna back it. You have to back it. Look at how much Steven Gerrard is getting in terms of backing from Aston Villa. Luca Digne, one of the best left backs in the league. If you can find a way to avoid injuries. Kamara, yes, Kamara comes in on a free, but that is also part of the intelligence of their recruitment. So Kamara, Luca Digne, and Coutinho, and a couple of other players. So everyone is spending. And if you want to win silverware, you're going to Liverpool and Chelsea last campaign played every minute of every domestic competition. I'll say that again. Liverpool and Chelsea played every minute of every domestic competition. Liverpool winning 2 of the 3 domestic cups to compete for. There is something that you should pick out of that, because remember, Liverpool also ran up to the last day to win. To try to win the Premier League, and they also played in the UEFA Champions Final. And that is a club that has just spent 100 million euros on Darwin Núñez. Nothing more to speak about that. 200 million, good money, but even last summer, we should have spent that. But the good thing is that I think Arsenal are now back to behaving and thinking like a big club. See you soon.